If you look 10 years ago, most cancer centers would not have had any cancer immunology being done. If you look a few years ago, people were just starting, and now it is clear that this will be an important part of cancer therapy as well as research around cancer.
Immunotherapy is not a new thing. In fact, the earliest examples were over 100 years ago, where a surgeon who trained here in Boston, then moved to New York, started experimenting. And he was treating patients with cancer, and he made the observation that people who developed wound infections after surgery tended to have better cancer outcomes. And so he actually started taking live bacteria and injecting it into patients. Now, obviously, we've come a very long way, but that was the earliest attempts at trying to harness the power of the immune system.
Billions of years of evolution, you get all kinds of tricks, but the tricks don't work perfectly. And that's why we need vaccines, because we're not perfectly fine-tuned to deal with every pathogen. Cancer is almost like the rest of your body. It's slightly different, but not very much. So the challenge that I felt was there from a scientific point of view is, how does the immune system know that this is something that one should attack?
Cancer cells over time accumulate many different mutations. But if you accumulate enough mutations, suddenly a cancer cell may start looking less like self and more foreign to the immune system.
I've identified new targets that could render these cancer cells more susceptible to dying in the context of immune cells. So that's why I've genetically modified them, and now I'm going to be doing co-culture with T cells to see if the T cells are now better at killing them.
The immune response has many components, but we'll focus just on one, which is T cells. They're these round cells that are floating in your body all the time, looking for things to eliminate. But in many cases, the T cells will just sit there and not function. They just enter the tumor and something blocks them from working. The main immunotherapy that's approved right now, what it does is it unblocks those T cells. It releases some brake that was put on those T cells. The main realization was by a couple of groups who isolated these proteins that actually block the T cells. And then they thought, well, maybe that's what's happening in a tumor. It's being blocked. And bringing that into the clinic took a lot of convincing by the groups who discovered these. But it's all coming from originally one major discovery, an inhibitor of T cells. And that kind of has drove the field forward. One of the goals of creating a Center for Cancer Immunology is to create a culture that is focused on understanding the immune system in the tumor, and then trying to develop therapies and then bringing them to patients. For example, with the Termeer Center, which is involved in phase 1 clinical trials, we work really closely with them because they've really done an amazing job of linking the patient tumor to the therapy and trying to bring those together.
One of my patients, his name is Frank, has had an amazing response to one of these drugs.
My name is Frank Timon, and this is my nurse, Connie Sullivan. And how did I get here?
Wilson.
He's a patient with non-small cell lung cancer. He was treated with chemotherapy, standard chemotherapy, and initially, we saw that there were signs of growth of the cancer. And so we talked about, exploring standard treatment or actually pursuing a clinical trial.
Has this program worked anywhere else? Or?
So the nivolumab is now FDA approved, and so we are using it. The combination, though, is something that's still being explored. And in your case, we found the right combination, and now it's just a matter of looking at others, too, for other people. We've learned a lot about it, but...
I'll vouch.
I know, I know you will. I think Frank is surrounded by a wonderful family who's very well informed, and as a team, we went through and we balanced the risks and the benefits, and we ultimately decided that now would be the good time to try this particular clinical trial. And what a clinical trial involves, it can take a lot from our patients, and that's why we're so grateful to our patients like Frank, who go through the unknown, really, at the very beginning.
I'm here because I want to be here. And I want to stay here. I know what I got. Okay? I want to keep it. My family kept me by.
Frank is just one of the patients that have benefited from this type of therapy. It's really revolutionized the treatment of lung cancer and many other cancers.
So the idea of actually creating a center whose goal is to get the right therapy to the right person and create small trials that address these questions is, I think, the future of medicine. And I think that any place that hasn't created something like Tumor Center should be, should be creating that.
I think MGH is a very special place. And what makes it special is the people. You are surrounded by world-class minds and researchers. It's just a great environment. And it's really where I've learned what it means to be an oncologist.
You gotta believe. If you don't believe in the people that are treating you, then why are you going through this? So far, so good.